A single knock at midnight, soft but urgent, shook Emma awake. Who could it be, deep in the woods, with only wind and shadows of company? Asterisk. Welcome to America Tales by Owl Tales. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Maybe a quiet town, a busy city, or even a lonely cabin like Emma's. It was a kind of night that made the moon look small and lonely in a big, dark sky. Emma Parker sat by her fireplace, thumbing through a tattered notebook full of her grandmother's recipes. She'd moved to this cabin to find peace and finish her cookbook, but lately the forest seemed too quiet, as if it held its breath. At exactly midnight, Emma stirred. She heard it before she saw it. One slow, measured knock at her front door. Emma froze, heart thumping. She lived miles from the nearest neighbor. Who could it be? She reached for the old brass key that hung on a nail by the door. "Hello," she called, her voice steady but soft. No answer, just another knock. Emma drew a deep breath and unlocked the door. Outside stood a tall man in a dark coat. His face was partly hidden under the brim of a worn hat. The moonlight lit up his eyes, sharp, curious. "Can I help you?" Emma asked. He held up a small wooden box, carved with strange symbols. "I hope so," he said in a gentle voice. "I'm looking for someone named Emma Parker." Emma's chest tightened. She didn't know this man. "That's me. What is that box?" He paused, as if weighing his words. "It belonged to your grandmother." Emma's breath caught. Her grandmother, Rose Parker, had passed away 5 years ago. She had never mentioned the box. "I don't understand." He nodded. "May I come in? It's cold out here." Emma stepped aside. The man entered carefully, his boots creaking. He set the box on her table. "My name is Jonah Holt," he said. "Camper by trade, and, I suppose, a seeker of lost stories." Emma poured him tea, her mind racing. "I don't know what stories you're seeking, but my grandmother never told me about a box." Jonah lifted the lid. Inside lay a faded photograph, a small key, and a folded letter. Emma recognized her grandmother's handwriting on the envelope. "I found it hidden inside an old trunk at her home," Jonah said carefully. "I think she wanted you to have it, one day." Emma's fingers trembled as she unfolded the letter. It read, "My dear Emma, if you're reading this, you found the midnight box. Inside are clues to one last family secret. Trust your gut. Appearances lie. Love, always, Grandma Rose." Emma looked up, eyes wide. "Family secret? What are you talking about?" Jonah closed the box. "That's why I came. I tried to reach you before, but the mail, well, I had to come find you in person." Emma's head spun. She'd come here for peace and recipes. Now she had a mystery on her hands. "What do we do first?" she asked. Jonah smiled, a spark in his eyes. "We follow the clues." The next morning, the forest glowed with dawn light. Emma followed Jonah to the old barn behind her grandmother's house. The second clue was carved on a loose floorboard, a set of numbers, December 5th, 33. Emma recited them out loud. "December 5th, 1933? Jonah nodded. "The year Grandma was 10. Something big must have happened then." Inside the barn, dust motes danced in sunlight. Emma knelt and pried up the board, revealing a small metal latch. She lifted it and pulled out a leather-bound diary. "This looks like her school diary," Emma whispered. She opened to a page dated December 5th, 1933. It said, "If anyone finds this, know I hid the truth beneath the old oak tree. It's not what it seems." Emma swallowed. What truth? They left the barn and walked to the oak, its branches gnarled and strong. Emma knelt and brushed away leaves. Beneath the roots, she found a small wooden chest. Inside lay an old locket with a black and white photo of a woman Emma had never seen. Grandma Rose as a child. No, that's not her. It's someone else. Emma studied the face. The woman looked frightened. Jonah pointed to the back of the locket. On the metal, etched faintly, were the initials MT. MT. Emma echoed. Grandma's maiden name was Thompson, Mary Thompson Parker. Could be Mary Thompson herself. Emma's heart pounded. But who is the woman in the photo? Jonah shrugged. Let's find out. They drove into town and visited the local library. The librarian, Mrs. Gale, remembered Mary Thompson Parker. She was a hit at the high school talent show winner in '33, she said, pulling down an old yearbook. Inside, Emma found a photo of her grandmother, young and smiling, standing beside another girl with the same face as the Lockett's photo. That's her twin sister, Margaret Thompson. Mrs. Gale said softly. Everyone said Mary and Margaret were inseparable until Margaret disappeared right before graduation. Emma's eyes watered. Disappeared? Mrs. Gale nodded. No trace. Your grandmother never spoke of her again. People thought Margaret ran away, but rumors, well, small towns. Emma clutched the locket. I never knew. Why would Grandma hide this? Jonah laid a hand on her shoulder. Maybe she feared what she'd uncover. But you're braver than she was. Emma looked at the locket, then at Jonah. I have to know what happened to Margaret. They followed another clue in the diary, a reference to the wishing well at the old church. The church stood abandoned at the edge of town, its windows broken, doors padlocked. Emma and Jonah found a narrow opening and squeezed through. Inside the steeple, moonlight shone through cracks. They climbed creaking stairs to a loft. Emma spied a round stone well in the center. She knelt, peering inside. The bottom was dark and deep. Hidden behind the well was a metal box, rusted shut. Emma pried it open with Jonah's pocket knife. Inside lay a folded letter in a single white rose, pressed flat. Emma unfolded the letter. It read, My dear sister, I'm sorry I had to leave. I never meant to hurt you. There are people who would harm me if they found out I knew too much. I'm going away for a while, somewhere I can be safe. Please forgive me. Love, Margaret. Emma's eyes filled. She left to protect Grandma? What could have been so dangerous? Jonah closed the box. There's one last clue, the firelight at sunset. Emma frowned. What does that mean? Jonah pointed to the diary's final page. A simple line, asterisk where fire meets sun. Truth burns bright, asterisk. Sunset painted the sky in reds and golds. Emma and Jonah walked to the old quarry, a place where townsfolk once burned brush at dusk. They found a pile of charred timbers near the water's edge. Emma scraped away ash and uncovered a small tin. Inside, a ledger rows of names and dates. Emma recognized several politicians and businessmen from her grandmother's old letters. They were meeting in secret to steal land from poor families, including the Thompsons. This is proof Grandma found out about their plan, Emma whispered. Margaret disappeared because she knew too much and had to run. Grandma hid these papers to protect her. Jonah nodded. Your grandmother wanted the truth safe until someone brave enough could tell it. That's you, Emma. Emma looked at the pages. She felt the weight of history in her hands. We have to share this. A week later, Emma sat in her cabin, the midnight box open on her table. Community members gathered by her fireplace, drawn by the promise of truth. Under her grandmother's name, Emma read aloud the ledger. Faces turned pale as they heard the names of corrupt leaders. By morning, the story spread. Newspapers picked it up. Investigations began. Margaret Thompson's name was cleared. She returned, living quietly in another state, and reunited with Emma in tears. The town elder approached Emma. You honored your grandmother's trust, child. You looked beyond appearances and followed your gut. Emma smiled, eyes shining. That's what she taught me. Lesson: sometimes the quietest voices hold the loudest truths. Trust your gut, look beyond appearances, and you may just uncover a web of secrets worth sharing. Thanks for listening to America Tales by Owl Tales. If you enjoyed this folktale, please subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share where you're watching from. Until next time, keep your lanterns lit and your hearts open.